side of the street. We're gonna ignore the fact that I keep nothing and just pretend that didn't happen. Pretend it didn't happen. Because it's the last. You should. Do you have I'll take Manhattan? There's a verse, that's why. No, sorry. If you don't have it, I have. You can take one.
Wait, so it wasn't printed?
No, but I gave it to him for the verse.
All right. You have to do it.
I mean, the ivory. Is it on ivory?
No, it's not.
Oh, of course it's not. Okay.
You guys got it.
Okay. Summer journeys to Niagara and to other places aggravate all our cares. We'll save our fares. I've a cozy little place, what is known as Old Manhattan. We'll settle down right here in town. Manhattan, the Bronx and Staten Island too. It's fun going to the blue. It's very fancy on Old Delancey Street, you know. The food trucks charm us so when balmy breezes blow. Bro, and tell me what street compares to Mott Street in July. Push carts gently glide by. The whole big city is a wondrous toy, just made for a girl and boy. We'll turn Manhattan into an Isle of Joy. We'll take Manhattan, the Bronx, and Staten Island too. Things are going to the blue. It's very fancy right on Old Delancey Street, you know. Touched on the soul when balmy breezes blow to and fro. It much to compare to Mott Street in July. The food cart gently gliding by. The great big city is a wondrous toy, just made for a girl and boy. We'll turn Manhattan into an Isle of Joy. We'll turn Manhattan into an Isle of Joy. You're not, I think.
Good afternoon, good people. I'm Carmen Renee Green, the Dean of the City University of New York School of Medicine, New York City's medical school. I'll be presiding over these fourth commencement and graduation ceremony for these amazing young people. Dean Danny Macbeth will ask our students who are providing a special welcome to come to the side here. I'd like to start with a few announcements. To ensure the health and safety of everyone, we ask that you refrain from coming forward to take pictures. A professional photographer we've got several of them who will be taking pictures, and you'll have plenty of time to do so after the ceremony. With a focus on equity, access, inclusive excellence, and the community, the CUNY School of Medicine is the most inclusive, most diverse, and equitable medical school in the country. We can say that because many of our students are bilingual and trilingual, and they speak over 16 different languages and dialects. Because of this, we are New York City's medical school. Several graduates will come to the front to welcome you in their native languages. Graduates, you may take a seat and one at a time.
Káàárọ̀. Àkọ́kọ́, mo fẹ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run. Ẹ ṣé gan púpọ̀ fún ìyá mi àti bàbá mi àti àwọn òbí mi àti àbúrò mi, bàbá mi ni. Love you. Ẹ ṣé gan, mo dúpẹ́.
Bienvenidos a todos los familiares y los padres de nuestros graduados hoy y futuros doctores. Espero que tengan un día maravilloso y que ustedes todos deben de estar muy orgullosos de sus hijos. Gracias.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম আমাদের গ্র্যাজুয়েশনে আসার জন্য ধন্যবাদ
Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Welcome po sa isang makasaysayang pagdiriwang ng aming buhay.
Dzień dobry i witamy was wszystkich.
Здравствуйте, всем привет.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं आप सबको खुशामदीद कहता हूँ. Hepiniz hoş geldiniz ve tebrikler.
Mamu nyina akwaba ebe jimedie. Bedam ne papa ne mame obusuafo nyina akwaba.
Wekumanye ejame. Ayeko cha manyaba. Chao manyaba. Mwana shingme ni masho na masho. Beke de nyewadon kweke.
مرحبا بكم في حفلتنا التخرج في عام 2023
大家好，欢迎你来我们的毕业典礼，谢谢你们。
Ethiopia, Utoko, Wabokia o Oba Tope, Ise.
Ndị bịara ije ahụ, anyị na-ekene unu.
No.
That's why we're New York City's medical school. Let's all stand as Ms. Kyra Luke sings the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what once proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming? whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the hearts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the bombs bursting gave proof that our flag was still there. Oh, sing down stars spangled and wave for the land and the whole
Thank you to our City College of New York wonderful musicians. You make everything just much prettier. So, good morning, good people. We welcome you to the MD class of 2023, our next generation of CUNY School of Medicine Healers, Leaders, and Scholars graduation. We, your faculty, our leadership, and your other students, the alumni, are thrilled to be here to celebrate your many individual accomplishments and collective achievements. Please note that this day could not have happened without families and friends and some ancestors who believed in us. To the parents, and I'm inspired by Dr. Ashawa Ande, we thank you for entrusting us with your sons and daughters. Today we will give to New York City and beyond doctors that New Yorkers want to see. They are the next generation of healers, leaders, and scholars. Graduates, can you please stand up and acknowledge your families? Please be seated. Today, I am thrilled to be accompanied by many people on the Dean's Platform Committee, my executive leadership team, our astounding faculty and staff, the 13th president of City College of New York, Vince Boudreau, Linda Grace, the Chancellor's Chief of Staff and Vice Chancellor for Institutional Advancement, and Tony List, the President, not President, I gave him your job. The Provost of City College of New York. I also want to extend a special welcome to our keynote speaker, Dr. Gary Gibbons, who is the director of the National Heart, Lung, Blood Institute of the National Institutes of Health, and Mr. Alan Hatch, who is also the son of one of our the grandson of one of our distinguished dignitaries who will receive an award today, and Dr. Marina Freimer, who is the president of our Alumni Association. I now would like to bring to the stage Senior Vice Chancellor Linda Grace, who will bring greetings from the Chancellor. Linda.
Well, to Dean Green, President Boudreau, Provost List, Dr. Gibbons, the platform party, faculty, staff, family, friends, and the mighty, magnificent class of 2023 from this med school. Good morning, everyone. I bring you greetings on behalf of Chancellor Felix Matos Rodriguez, the 8th Chancellor of the City University of New York. My name is Glenda Grace. I'm one of the Senior Vice Chancellors of CUNY, and I'm so pleased to be here. One of the pleasures of working at CUNY is to work on behalf of amazing graduates like you, amazing people who've done amazing things and who will continue to do amazing things. It's a pleasure. If people don't understand your value before COVID, they should understand the value that you bring now. You're going to help transform lives of communities and of you and your family. And you know it will not always be easy. You know that because you can look back on your journey to this day. Please know that regardless of where you came from before you came to the CUNY School of Medicine, you now have a bigger family, a family that is going to brag on you the rest of your life. You've gained classmates, alumni, fellow alums, mentors, trusted advisors, and just a lot of cheerleaders. And again, when you get an award, you'll know because we'll put out a press release about you. No question. On this day, I want you to remember those who saw something special in you early on. And I'm going to take a point of personal privilege, and I'm going to talk to Wara Aya. I'm going to remind her of her Sunday school teachers, including my sister, and the rest of our church family who love you. And know that you're going to be amazing, just like all of you are going to be. And there's some of you, though, who, in addition to having people who love you, you might have some haters, right? And what I want you to do about them is I want you to forget them. Don't even see them. Look at your goals and your power to transform and serve. Don't forget everyone who's supporting you on the journey, those who are in the audience, those who are far away, and those who are not present with us physically now. And I just want to end with words from Nikita Gill and her poem, I Am My Ancestors' Dreams. Your ancestors did not survive everything that nearly ended them for you to shrink yourselves to make someone else comfortable. This sacrifice is your war cry. Be loud, be everything, and make them proud. Make us proud. Congratulations, class of 2023 of the CUNY School of Medicine. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Grace. Next, I would like to invite Provost List up to the stage. Oh, yeah, we'll save it for Vince.
Thank you, Dean Green. Okay. I feel very tall. You know, one of my favorite things in graduation ceremonies is looking out on all these beautiful faces that we have at City College. It warms my heart, and on graduation day, everybody is happy. Class of 2023. 7 years ago, you came to City College, to the Sophie Davis Biomedical Education Program. Think back on that. Think back on yourself 7 years ago. It was the fall of 2016. Hillary Clinton was about to be elected president. You most likely had doubts that you would make it to today. Your parents and your families had hopes and dreams, and they might have had some doubts too, but they didn't tell you. 2019, 3 years later, you graduated from your undergraduate program and began your M1 year in medical school. Then 2020 happened. Remember 2020? Not a great year. All through this, you persevered. You kept going. You went through medical school in the middle of a pandemic. In March of 2020, the entire college, the entire city went remote. My daughter graduated from medical school that spring, along with many other medical students. She graduated early in order to be able to serve in the hospital. In her case, it was Bellevue. Students from the CUNY School of Medicine also graduated early that year. My daughter graduated on Zoom like everybody else who graduated that year. The importance of becoming a doctor was never more apparent than it was at that moment and in the subsequent years, especially the need for primary care physicians in underserved communities, the very thing that you committed to in 2016 when you joined the program. Today, as we finally emerge from the pandemic, I hope, the need for doctors in underserved communities has never been more acute. The lessons that some of us learned during the pandemic are already being forgotten by many, especially how the disparities in healthcare can be mapped zip code by zip code. In the zip code in which City College resides, the death rate from COVID-19 is 60% higher than it is for the island of Manhattan as a whole. And there are pockets throughout the city, and you can map them by socioeconomic status in those zip codes where the death rate from COVID is similarly high. If you had any doubts at all about the importance of what you've committed to do, those doubts should have been wiped away in the past 3 years. And if you had any doubts about your ability to finish this program at any point along the way, those doubts are now gone. Be proud of yourselves. Be incredibly proud of yourselves. Go into your residency with confidence, knowing that you can do whatever comes to face you. Go with joy about what you've accomplished these past 7 years. And always remember that you're part of the great City College family. Congratulations, graduates. Congratulations to your family. You have done a wonderful job. You are doing important work. Thank you.
Thank you, Provost List. Now I have the honor of bringing to the stage our dynamic 13th president of City College, New York, City College of New York, Dr. Vincent Boudreau. Dr. Boudreau.
Thank you, Dean Green, members of the platform committee, EVC, Grace, Provost List, faculty of the CUNY School of Medicine, family, friends, graduates, doctors. Let that sink in. Graduates, doctors. This may be today and next week during graduation the last time that as a group you will sit together. You'll probably work together. You'll continue to maintain ties. You'll be professional colleagues. but as a collective, as a group of young medical professionals who've gone to the same institution, who've studied the same classes, faced the same struggles. This is it. This is the moment when the CUNY School of Medicine's class of 2023 stands together. So I want to submit to you, that's an important moment. It's an important moment for this institution. It's an important moment for you personally and professionally. And I say that because you will leave here and go on to other institutions. You have residencies, you will intern, you will learn specialties, you will work in hospitals or in private practice. You will filter into the existing medical establishment that we have. And if that medical establishment was everything that it needed to be, then it would not need you. It would not need this college. It would not need this school. It would not need the amazing leadership of this institution, and it would not need the particular emphasis that ran like a red thread through the classes you've taken for the last 7 years. You're not graduating from a normal medical school, and this medical school is not situated on an average college campus. You're surrounded in this great hall by the footprints of our founding mission, which is in 1847 and every year since then, including this one: America, democracy, justice have needed a place that would educate the whole people, not just because it would provide opportunity to you as individuals, but because it would provision your perspectives, your dreams, your insights, your sensitivities for the professions that you will undertake. But for this school, but for your medical education, there are questions that would never be answered or even asked. But for the focus on primary care in underserved communities, there would be needs that would not be met. The guiding vision of City College is a vision of asking and answering the questions asked by the underserved and too often unheeded elsewhere. And that is your charge as doctors of the CUNY School of Medicine. The provost just, I think, very eloquently talked about the things that were revealed during the pandemic, how important the social determinants of healthcare rise to the surface in greater morbidity rates during crises like the pandemic we just faced. You will always, all of us, will always be a pandemic generation whose personal lives, whose professional lives, whose education was marked by one of the greatest crises we faced as a nation in the last century. We faced as a people, as a species in the last century. But we're fooling ourselves if we think that it is the last pandemic we will face. The barriers that have prevented contagion, restrictions on travel, restrictions on the movement of goods and services across borders from one climate to another, the movement of species as climate change changes the environment, all of these things break down, they erode the barriers to contagion. And we know from the bitter experience of these last few years that when the next pandemic hits, it will hit the underserved harder than others in society. And so the specific preparation that you have in this school, primary health care in underserved communities, cultural competence, so that when people come to you in fear and in need, you can speak to them, not just in their language, but in an idiom of care and compassion and understanding that will resonate. So do we need you? Yes, we need you. We need you as individuals. We need you as doctors. We need you as primary care specialists. But most of all, we need you for the collective experience and the investment in a culture of care that is your specific responsibility, inheritance, and burden coming out of this CUNY School of Medicine. So I am deeply proud of the work that you've done. I am infinitely hopeful for what you will do when you leave this place. And I leave you with this one charge. Always remember the distinctiveness of the collection of young men and women, of doctors that you find yourself in today. Carry that with you, live it, teach it, share it, exercise it all the days of your professional life. Congratulations, doctors.
Thanks, Vince. Much appreciated. So I'm your dean for a few more minutes. And I wanted to share with you some thoughts, some kind of random thoughts about what it's like to be in that space and my recollection of this little time that we have between now and starting your residency. As an intern, I remember starting my call in the chapel. You know, I'd pray that I wouldn't kill anybody. I would also learn through this training and through this experience that the most deadly of the things that we can do to a patient is actually to kill their spirit, to create a group of people who are walking wounded because we couldn't see their humanity. When I was in medical school, we didn't talk about health disparities. We just accepted that Black and brown people died before their time. There were no deans of medical schools who were Black and brown women. There was not a director of a National Institutes of Health who was a Black man. There wasn't a woman. I came from Michigan, and we love Michigan. But every day or most days, I take the M101 crosstown and I recognize that going from east to west Harlem, which is about 3.4 miles, there's a life expectancy difference of 9.4 years. And that's before the pandemic. Difference. Several blocks makes the difference. Your zip code makes a difference in your quality of life and the length of your life. So I'd like to share with you a couple of things that I think will be, as the old folks talked about, your traveling shoes. I'm going to encourage you to be authentic. There are going to be a lot of people who've graduated from other places and they'll call them elite. And I'm not even certain what elite is named. And I told that to this man here earlier today. How can we be elite if we're allowing babies to be born before their time and grandmothers to die before their time? We're betting on you to be the difference that everybody out there has been waiting for. So it's going to be really important that, remember how I keep telling you we bow down to no one. I'm telling you to believe in you and what you've endured, what you've been through, that all of those things make the difference. And I want you to realize that because we believe in you, you should believe in yourself. And the times in which your knees get a little wobbly, and you're kind of wondering whether or not, I want you to rest, to think about those ancestors who believed in you, who may not be here today, but believed in you. In many ways, they are your superpower. I want you to be a consistent advocate for others. Remember, our calling is to care for the marginalized and the vulnerable. Medicine has a way of socializing us not to see them. We call the person with sickle cell disease, it's the sickler, as if the disease defines who they are. I want you to continue to think about the humanity. When you walk past the person who with those shoes on their feet, who may be sleeping underneath your building, and yet they come into the emergency room, and I want you to think about welcoming them in from the cold. We're thankful for Dr. Victor Schwartz and his mission in regards to helping us to think about wellness. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to be facing a lot. Guard your mental health. Make certain you take your oxygen first. And I'm going to thank you for giving us the why. Why does CUNY School of Medicine exist? So if we had addressed educational inequities, if we had addressed health and healthcare inequities, these other schools, if they would have done that, there'd be no reason for this school to exist. And I'm telling you that we have successfully addressed educational inequities, and we have addressed healthcare inequities, and that's the CUNY School of Medicine difference. To create doctors who can talk to their patients, doctors who can see the person who's in the gown, in the bed, and to have empathy for them. That's our why. I don't want you to forget our why. I thank you for helping me have a reason to get up in the morning because of that why. You provided a whole lot of wow. And the wow is one of the things that you have changed the face of medicine. Look at you. Have they changed the face of medicine? Have they changed the face of medicine? But if we change the face of medicine and do the same old thing and allow health and healthcare disparities to exist and persist, then we haven't changed medicine. So I'm asking you, I'm imploring you to think about the humanity of the person and remember that sometimes it is about the prescription we write, the medication, the vitamin, the massage. But what is more important is making certain that we keep the heart and soul of medicine intact and that we treat each person with competence, compassion, and kindness. So I say congratulations. I want you to go out there and change medicine. I think that I was a good doctor. You were a good doctor. Rita, you're definitely a good doctor. I want you to do better than we did. That's the legacy we want for ourselves. So congratulations, my friends. So it's now my pleasure to recognize the winner of the Dr. H. Jack Geiger Award, the Icon Award. The award is given in honor of the pioneering work of Dr. Jack Geiger, who was really the force behind the whole concept of the social determinants of health. He died about 1.5 years ago, but his legacy lives on. This year's recipient is Dr. John Hatch. Dr. Hatch is a doctor of public health, and he's co-founder of Delta Health Center of Mount Bayou and professor emeritus at the University of North Carolina. He arrived in UNC in 1970. He set up several centers for health services research and enrolled as a doctoral student to start making a change. He worked with many luminaries, Desmond Tutu. He's met I had the honor of speaking to him for about 2 hours. And you would not know that you were talking to a 95-year-old. So he became a professor in the Department of Health Behavior, studying health promotion and disease prevention. He worked with Dr. Geiger to create the Delta Health Center. He demonstrated the valuable need for community health centers in Black and rural communities and plantations. Today includes a national health center network of more than 1,200 urban and rural migrant centers that provide high quality care for more than 23 million people. Community health centers continue to combine the community-oriented primary care that so many people need, the public health interventions, and his work in the civil rights arena. And you can talk to him today, and you can still hear that fire about civil rights. Dr. Hatch's life's work has helped create a more equitable healthcare system that addresses systemic racism and disparities. A passionate advocate for healthcare equity and equality, Dr. Hatch was a visionary in his efforts. Today, his central contributions to the conversations that relates to social determinants of health are being recognized for the work that he has dedicated his career to. And so on behalf of the CUNY School of Medicine, we give this award to Dr. Richard Hatch. With that being said, 95-year-olds don't travel as much as they used to. And he sent in place his grandson, who actually just graduated from college itself. And he has a few remarks from his family to share.
Good morning. I'm so tall. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed faculty, proud parents, and distinguished graduates of the City University of New York School of Medicine, thank you for allowing me to stand before you today and accept the Dr. H. Jack Geiger Icon Award on behalf of my grandfather, Dr. John Wesley Hatch. When I asked my grandfather what message he'd like to impart, he told me to begin with their story in rural southern Mississippi. In the 1960s, when my grandfather, Dr. Geiger, and their colleague, Dr. Gibson, first visited the Mississippi Delta, they encountered a community burdened with profound health challenges. The community lacked fundamental necessities such as food, safe water, sanitation, and basic infrastructure. He said that the smell from the outhouses was so strong they could guide you home, noting that this stench also served as a constant reminder of the persistent disparities that plagued the area. Undeterred by the enormity of the task, they embarked on a mission to address the underlying issues affecting the health and well-being of the community. The clinic prescribed food for the malnourished and grew a flourishing community garden to provide nourishment for thousands of residents. Stairs were erected for houses to enable safe access to homes. Wells were dug to generate clean water, and indoor plumbing was introduced, improving sanitation and hygiene. And all the while, the Community Health Center also trained dozens of sanitarians and other health professionals to be able to sustain these improvements over time and into the future. Their pioneering work in community health centers left an indelible mark on the lives of countless individuals and future generations, and became a blueprint for success for others to start similar initiatives in communities across the nation. However, my grandfather emphasized that this team's success was not centered around personal accomplishment. It was due to leadership expressed through a steadfast and shared commitment to uplifting and improving communities. As you embark on your own professional journeys, let their stories serve as a reminder of the opportunity that you have to make a difference. You have been equipped with the knowledge and skills to profoundly impact the lives of others. Carry the torch of compassion, empathy, and innovation as you strive for a world where everyone can enjoy good health and well-being. At times, the challenges you face may seem insurmountable, but through collaboration, active listening, and dedication to understanding the needs of the people you serve, you can create lasting change. Thank you. Congratulations, graduates. May you go forth and continue the legacy of your predecessors, making a positive and lasting impact on the world.
Godspeed. And congratulations on your graduation as well. So we'd like to give a few special recognitions to our students who have earned some awards in regards to excellence. First cord that you will see is a maroon cord, which is symbolized over their regalia. These are cords that demonstrates their excellence in narrative medicine. And for these students, I will call their names and they will stand up for their seats. This is in recognition of, is consistent with having a minor in a bachelor's program, master's program, and they have committed to actually actively hearing different voices. First, Shandita Ambia. Akila Chilakala. Charlene Cotia. Erica San Antonio. And Shubi Singh. We are proud of the fact that they have committed in so many ways to hear the unheard voices of many. Now I turn to some of our Dean's Special Awards. First of all, we have the Dean's Academic and Clinical Excellence Award. The recipients are being recognized for their excellence across each of our missions, the quadripartite mission, clinical, education, research, and social. The recipients will come to the stage for this particular award. They will, they're right here. Doctors Pritchett and Richter will announce those names.
Good morning. Dean Green, there are 8 candidates who have shown excellence in the academic and clinical mission. They each received honors in all of their clerkships. These students are wearing a gold cord over their regalia.
They are, as I call your name, please come to the stage. Sanjita Ambia,
Jardeline M. Diaz, Rose A. Gideon, and Sebastian Patrovic.
Joel James, Justin Merville, Ipechuku Obai, that's impressive. And Abdullah Khalid.
So they're terrific. We now will recognize those students who contributed to the research mission. These students are wearing a white cord over their regalia. These candidates will be presented by Associate Dean for Research, the Chief Research Officer, Dr. Maria Lima, and Dr. Nancy Solar.
It is tall. Good afternoon. Dean Green, 20 of the CUNY School of Medicine graduating class, authored a manuscript during their tenure. I will ask the students to please stand up as I call your name and remain standing. Chandira Ambia, Emmanuel Amuatan Jr., Haidali Biatan Mata, Muhammad Chipa, Aquila Chilakala, Janilis Fernandez Torres, Alexander German, Sebastian Haitovich, Risa Hack, Lorraine Harvey, Chad Henry, Kimberly Hernandez, Joe James, Eric John, Charlene Cote, Samantha Lau, Jacqueline Liu, Joshua Ogogo, Fatma Shalan, and Kaylee Singh. One more time for all the graduates who have done wonderful. We will now call to the podium students that distinguish themselves for publishing more, and some of them many more than one paper. I'm gonna call you to the stage and Dr. Solar will present you with an award. Aquila Shilakala. Janilis Fernandez Torres. Alexander German. Sebastian Hajtovich. Risa Ha. Joe James. Fatma Shalom.
And they're terrific. Absolutely terrific. It's now my pleasure to present the class of 2023 Dean's Persistence Award. And this award goes to a student who demonstrates the ability to overcome and transcend challenges and obstacles. They have what they call grit. I want to say a couple things about this particular candidate. This young person started out with not speaking so quickly, but the intellect clearly was there. And with that challenge, he's overcome those speech challenges and has helped other kids in the community, being an active member in the Black Men's Initiative. He has been a tutor in college. He ran faster than all of us, All-American hurdler. He is Ipe Chukwu Obeyi. Next, our kids are just extraordinary. I'd like to introduce Rose Gideon, who was chosen by her fellow classmates to give the class of 23 student address. Rose.
Good morning, faculty, honorable guests, families, friends, and the graduating class of 2023. My name is Rose Gideon, and I am honored and humbled to address you all on behalf of my classmates. First and foremost, congratulations to the class of 2023 for graduating from our esteemed institution, the CUNY School of Medicine. Yeah. Whether it took you 7 years or a bit longer, you should be proud of yourselves for successfully completing such a rigorous program. I would also like to express my gratitude to you all for electing me as the class speaker. About 4 years ago, I stood before our class to deliver our undergraduate graduation, to deliver a speech for our undergraduate graduation, And now I have the privilege, once again, to celebrate our transformation into doctors. I am truly grateful for this opportunity. Who knew that Quizlet cards and Google Doc notes can take you so far in life? I can envision myself in a retirement home with dementia, still receiving messages from Sophie students, seeking study tips that I cannot even remember. And I will happily respond to them with my last 2 brain cells. Honestly, it has been a privilege to be a part of this school, and more specifically, to be a member of this incredible class. Looking back, we should be so proud of ourselves. I love that we somehow tackled the entire fundamentals course and anatomy all in 1 semester. In fact, we had so much PTSD from that one experience that the faculty had no choice but to save future generations from that form of torture. I admire our ability to stay awake through virtual lectures and virtual exams. Gone are the days when we had to wait up to an hour for a proctor to join us, or even one of our classmates, only to start the exam and the computer freeze on you for 5 minutes straight. But lucky for me, I had Omer on speed dial and he always came through. And with our 100% residency match rate, we have proven ourselves to be a resilient group of students and now competent physicians. It's hard to believe that about 7 years ago, a version of us who were barely adults helped transform us into the people we are today. I can hardly look at my Snapchat flashbacks without even cringing. So I'm certain the way you enter this program is not the same way that you are leaving. I hope that you have grown in wisdom, knowledge, kindness, and above all, empathy. But I hope what has not changed is your passion for medicine and your enthusiasm for caring for others. As we continue our evolution, we must accept the parts of us that have remained constant while embracing the changes that occur within and around us. A perfect example of this is my classmate, Hadley Beaton. Like her medical journey, her hair journey has been just as dynamic. Her hair has grown and changed over the years in length and style. And just like some of you, even her specialty choice has changed to one that best aligns with her personal and professional goals. However, what hasn't changed is her ambition, her kindness, and her radiant energy. We can also consider someone like Emmanuel Jr. He remains one of the most charismatic and kind-hearted young men that I know. But I swear his voice goes down at least 2 octaves every single year. They might need to name a special vocal range just for him. And I thank the heavens every day for Obioma, who has transformed from one of our biggest Anki sponsors to our #1 tech genius. Why go to the Apple Genius Bar when you can simply message Obi? And my friends Rachel and Akila are a constant reminder of how relationships can be built and grown at any time during your journey. And last but not least, my dear friend, Tracy Faladun. She is such a diligent and generous young woman. But that cooking though, her culinary skills only continue to improve. Her dishes have the taste of a Michelin-starred Nigerian grandmother. All in all, my message to you is to embrace change and even create change around you while remaining true to who you are. Reflecting on my journey, a lot has changed for me, especially in this last year of medical school. After being involved in a car accident and losing my sister Ruth and childhood friend Alicia, life has never been the same. If you've ever lost a loved one, you know how it feels to continue living while feeling like a part of you is missing. Holidays, birthdays, and even grand celebrations like this, medical school graduation, always feel bittersweet. This may be a change in my life that I never fully get used to. Amidst this difficult period in my life, I found a quote that resonated with my experience, written by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, a psychiatrist who studied death and dying. She wrote, "The reality is that you will grieve forever. You will not get over the loss of a loved one. You'll learn to live with it. You will heal and rebuild yourself around the loss you have suffered. You will be whole again, but you will never be the same, nor should you be the same, nor should you want to. Although our loved ones are not here with us physically, they are still with us spiritually. The memories and imprints they have made in our lives will never disappear. But when significant events like this occur in our lives, sometimes we are forced to change. We remain the same at our core, but we develop additional layers. During this time in my life, a new layer was added and helped me to develop a deeper understanding of empathy, especially towards my patients. A couple of months ago, during my ICU rotation, I witnessed one of my first codes since the accident, and it struck an emotional chord within me. For a few days, I participated in the care of a kind elderly gentleman with end-stage heart failure. He came in very ill, but over time, we saw him slowly improve, and we were thrilled to witness his progress. So it came to us as a shock when one morning during rounds, we learned that he had suddenly become unresponsive and without a pulse. My team and I rushed to his bedside and initiated a code. The team made me stand outside the room as I watched them desperately try to save his life, and I noticed tears welling up in my eyes. I hurried to the bathroom to compose myself, and to my surprise, a personal care assistant with whom I had never interacted with followed behind me. She assumed it was my first time witnessing a code, unaware that it triggered memories of my sister's passing. This compassionate young lady took the time to listen to my story and comforted me with a tight hug, making me cry even more. In my moment of vulnerability, she reminded me of my strength and how this moment exemplified empathy. It was proof of how deeply I cared for my patients and the people around me. After our encounter, I returned to the floor, and by the time I arrived, the patient had unfortunately passed, and a team was informing the patient's sister of the news. Within a few moments, the doctors and residents I worked with resumed rounding as if nothing had happened. It saddened me to realize that sometimes in this field, we are forced to witness illness and loss repeatedly without being given sufficient time to process the experience. As a medical student, I had the opportunity to have my moment, but my team did not have that same luxury. In the intensive care unit, all patients require urgent care, leaving little room for crying in the staff lounge because there are always people who need us. But while desensitization may protect us from intense pain and grief, it can also diminish our humanity and vulnerability. It can interfere with our ability to be fully present and develop strong relationships with our patients. It wasn't until the next day, while I was learning how to place a central line with two of my residents, that I saw another side to my team. While one of my residents was teaching me the steps, she brought up what had happened yesterday. She shared how tough it was for her, saying, "You know, I went home and I cried my eyes out yesterday." Her male co-resident, handing her the required materials, chimed in, "Yeah, me too. I had to have lunch alone yesterday, and everyone kept asking me what was wrong, but I was too sad to even explain." I was so shocked to hear this. Just the day before, I had seen them go from performing chest compressions to presenting their cases, placing orders, and writing their notes. I had assumed they were numb to what we had witnessed. But like anyone else, medical professionals are human. Sometimes we have to push our emotions aside temporarily to fulfill our duties, but we also need time to process our experiences. Practicing medicine doesn't require emotional muting. It involves finding a healthy balance with empathy. It's performing competently while extending care and compassion. So I encourage you all to express your emotions and be vulnerable. Schedule in a good cry if you have to. Scream and shout when you go home. Take your moment and be human, because that is what makes you a great physician. So as we embark on our careers, let us never forget the values that brought us to this point. Let us always remember the importance of empathy and human connection in our interactions with patients. Let us embrace the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead with courage, compassion, and conviction. And even as things change within and around us, let us never forget who we are and where we come from, no matter how far we go. Thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Gideon, can you stand? I want you to see your daughter. Congratulations. There are two people who are elected student class representatives. Yardelise Diaz and Tracy Valdum. Can you come to the stage? They will present the faculty awards.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us on this special day. My name is Yardelise Maria Fatima Diaz. I've had the immense honor of serving as class representative of this amazing, beautiful, diverse, fun-loving class for a number of years now. And I think today I was delegated one of the most important tasks. It was certainly, I said it was important, but definitely not difficult. It was actually one of the easiest things we've had to do. And that's because we were asked to present an award to our favorite faculty member. And it's very clear that the faculty member who we would like to honor today has stolen the hearts of every individual in this class. And she does this through her fiery passion for teaching and her steadfast efforts to deliver clinical skills, whether it's in Harris Hall, at NYU Bellevue, or over Zoom during the pandemic, where she recorded very thorough neurological examinations using her son as a simulated patient with her dog in the background. She has this very unique ability to make the classroom feel like a home. And I think that's why we enjoyed going to her classes. But I have to be honest, I think we were also very eager to see what kind of outfit she had on that day. With her very elegant long skirts and her iconic earrings and jewelry and platform shoes. On a more serious note, though, this faculty member has always emphasized treating each patient as a person before his or her illness alone. It reminds me of a quote by Dr. William Osler. He says, "To study the phenomenon of disease without books is to sail an uncharted sea, while to study books without patients is to not go to sea at all." That's what's engraved on this plaque. It also says, "Thank you for teaching us the foundation of our clinical skills and for empowering us. We are so honored to carry your voice with us wherever we go for as long as we practice. With love, the graduating CUNY School of Medicine, class of 2023. Dr. Hollander, May you please come up to accept this award.
Good afternoon, graduates and everyone here. Thank you so much for coming and sharing this beautiful day with us. My name is Tracy Falodin. I'm one of the class reps of our class. And I'm here to present an award to another faculty member who has been with us since the very beginning of his journey. He's a very familiar face in Harris Hall. He's the one person you will probably email if you didn't know who to send your request to or your inquiry to. And he always knew who to direct you to or how to go about resolving your issues. You would never be found wanting with this person. He's a very nice person, always reachable. Even today when I was running late, he made sure to figure out where I was and if I was okay. And when I came in, he was like, "I'm so glad you made it." That's just how genuine and sweet of a person he is. He's a valuable asset to us as students and to the entire CUNY School of Medicine family. On this plaque, there's a quote by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, and it says, "A good teacher is like a candle. It consumes itself to light the way for others." On behalf of the class of 2023, I am beyond honored to present this second faculty award to none other than our Associate Dean of Student Affairs, Dr. Dean Danny Macbeth.
Congratulations, Dr. Macbeth and Dr. Hollander. Our next order of business is welcoming our keynote speaker. A great deal is written about him in the program, but I'd actually like to share a little bit more. Dr. Gibbons received his Bachelor of Arts from Princeton University, where he graduated magna cum laude. He also went to Harvard Medical School and completed his residency in cardiology fellowship at the Brigham. Dr. Gary Gibbons is also the director of the third largest NIH institute, the National Heart, Lung, and Blood. In that role, he provides global leadership for the prevention and treatment of heart, lung, sleep, and blood diseases to improve the health of all people. He is passionate about eliminating health care disparities. Dr. Gibbons provides leadership for transformative NIH and NHLBI initiatives, including the NIH Community Engagement Alliance, SEAL, which is against COVID-19 and those type of disparities. Researching COVID to enhance recovery, that's the recover. Implementing a maternal health and pregnancy outcomes vision for everyone, which is improve. And the NIH Climate Change and Health initiative. Dr. Gibbons received the 2021 Service to America Medal for his visionary leadership of SEAL. Dr. Gibbons also pursues leading-edge research at the National Human Genome Research Institute. His scientific contributions are cross-cutting in the fields of genomic medicine, vascular biology, and vascular pathogenesis. He investigates clinical phenotypes, that's what things look like, behavior, molecular mechanisms and interactions, as well as the social determinants of health in cardiovascular disease. He's a member of the National Academy of Medicine. He has taught at Stanford University, Harvard Medical School, and at Morehouse School of Medicine, where he was actually the founding director of the Cardiovascular Research Institute, and I learned today of a T32 mechanism. In many ways, he is homegrown. He participated in Dr. Wilson Anstey's Travelers Program, where there's a whole bunch of really famous folks, and he's just one of them, who often have a darker hue, anyway, who are really very famous, and he's probably the most famous of them all, and has made a bigger contribution to the conversation. He's had a robust conversation with our students this morning, inspiring them to think about things beyond just the MD, to think about intellectual curiosity. He grew up in Philadelphia nearby, and he credits his family and his faith for his foundation, his inspiration, and his aspirations to serve others. Please welcome Dr. Gary Gibbons to the stage.
Thank you very much, Dean Green, for that generous introduction. I recognize that I'm standing in between this great group of class of 2023 and the really important part of this whole ceremony. So I know you gave me an hour to talk, but 2 hours, but I'll cut it down a little bit so we can get right to the heart of the matter. First, I also want to say it's a real privilege to be invited, and we appreciate this opportunity. I guess the first order of business is to congratulate the City University of New York School of Medicine class of 2023 on your day. Now, it's my understanding of this process of what we call a convocation. It's a gathering of those who are called, often called to a particular vocation. There's a priestly tradition of convocations. There's an academic tradition of convocations. And I think of it as sort of joining a family where you share a calling. And this is part of welcoming you into the family of academia as you get your degrees today. But another part of that convocation, I believe, is also rooted in a different kind of family. And I couldn't help but notice that all these folks in the front rows are hogging all the love today. You're getting all this applause, particularly from those in the back of the room, who have been pretty exuberant, I might say, during this whole convocation. And I would suspect, from what I've learned, that many of you are first generation of going to higher education. Many of you are new Americans. And I suspect that many of you would not be here without your grandmothers or your mothers or your fathers or your sisters and brothers or aunties' sacrifice and prayers for you to be here today. And you are surrounded by a host of cheerleaders, not only in the back physically, but including your ancestors who've been praying and looking forward to this moment. And I just want to encourage you that as part of this profession, that you carry a spirit of gratitude toward the people who poured themselves into you to make you where you are today. And if you could just, if I could break protocol one moment and just have you express some appreciation for those people in the back that made it possible for you to be here. I say that in part because whenever I'm part of this convocation, where it's a gathering of those who are called, that we appreciate those folks. And I must admit, there's not one of these convocations, and I've obviously had a lot as a member of faculty, where I don't reflect on my own roots. And I couldn't help but appreciate the uniqueness, the special nature of CUNY Med, in which you open with your various languages, which tells me that you have ancestral roots literally all over the world, just in this room. Whenever I think about one of these moments, I have to reflect on my grandmother. My grandmother grew up in the 19th century, a couple of generations from slavery. As a little black girl growing up in rural Georgia, she was not valued by the social context of her time to the point where there was a willingness to invest in her education. So she barely could learn to read and write growing up in rural Georgia. And so she had a real thirst for education that she was denied. And so I think she was committed to ensure that her son and her grandchildren would have education. Now, because she had a limited education, was a domestic maid all her life, cleaned floors for other people, worked all the way through the 70s. It's probably where I got my work ethic. You couldn't get Grandma to come to any of our ball games or any of our recitals, but if we were graduating at any point in education, Grandma was there. That she'd take a day off from because she wanted to instill in us that appreciation of learning and education that she was denied. And so that's why I think it's so important that you recognize those who came before you and made what you were doing possible. It's part of the calling that we all have been part of the convocation, part of the family that you're joining. Indeed, we're wearing these robes, and you may notice that some of them have different colors because we came from different institutions that welcome us into that family, but we maintain the fabric, the colors of that family. And now you are part of a greater legacy of a family of City University of New York School of Medicine. And it is a family that, if it's like the others I've been part of, will continue to have your back, just like those folks behind you, that the folks now in front of you are surrounding you as cheerleaders and supporters of what you're going to do next. Because you're entering into what I believe is a sacred calling, a calling of compassion and care. Compassion, as many of you know, has its roots in the word passion, which is similar to the same root that we get the term patience. And so when your passion is related to patience, you actually come alongside patients in their suffering. And that's what we're called to do as physicians, in caring, to literally come beside and share with them in their suffering and sit with them in their suffering in a way that we hope contributes to their healing. So when Dean Green challenges you to dare to be great as healers, it's really as a part of the calling that is part of this convocation, that is part of this family, that is part of the vocation of being a physician, is that you will share that knowledge that these faculty have poured into you in a form of compassionate care. So that's my first dare today. I'll dare you with three things. And I grew up in Philly, and so we would often dare each other as peers, to challenge each other, to help us rise to our very best. That's actually what family does. That's what they're doing back there, is that they're challenging to rise to your best. And I hope you're daring in your commitment to compassionate care. And particularly because you are SUNY Med, I suspect you will draw upon your lived experience to particularly direct your compassion and your care for those who are underserved, perhaps even those for whom you share a lived experience, perhaps the same communities that you came from and that you now will serve in return, giving back to them the same love you just gave to those behind you who made your life and your destiny possible. My second dare would be that you, as not only healers, but scholars, commit to continuous curiosity. I am a scientist, a physician scientist. And as I mentioned, my grandmother challenged us to get as much education as possible. Indeed, she gave me 3 words of advice: love God, love your neighbor as yourself, and love to learn. Those 3 things. Now, she didn't get a lot of education, but I don't know if I've gotten 3 better words of advice from anyone other than my grandmother. And it's that desire that I've had since I was a kid to understand, why do things work the way they do? In fact, my parents would actually buy me pamphlets that were called How and Why books. Those don't exist anymore, I'm sure. Some of the faculty probably don't even know what those are. But they were little monographs designed for young kids that would explain why the sky is blue. What is a cloud? I wanted to know those things. What makes the solar system? Why do things revolve around the sun? I've always had that curiosity. And it was encouraged by my grandparent and my parents. In fact, growing up in Philly, we had a museum called the Franklin Institute. It's one of the earliest science museums that exists. And you probably won't believe this, but they used to have an exhibit of the heart in which you could walk through the chambers of the heart, and it would beat that lub-dub, lub-dub, lub-dub. It would even have the lights and lighting in a way that it was more blue on the venous side chambers and more red on the arterial side. Now, I was just a kid in elementary school. I found that fascinating. Now, little did I know that I was going to become a cardiologist and director of the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute some 50 years later. But I believed that there was that, again, continuous curiosity, and that my grandmother's instilling in me that love for learning that she was denied, that has driven me to be a scientist and to keep asking why. That's critical for you, because I must admit, even though Harvard Medical School is a pretty good medical school and I went to pretty good residency programs, I got to tell you, half the stuff that they taught me how to do to treat myocardial infarction, we don't do anymore. It's probably wrong. we probably killed more people than we actually helped with all the guideline-based therapies of that time. And that's why we always, if we're going to bring compassionate care, have to be continuously curious and chip away at our ignorance and expand our knowledge at the frontiers. And that's why I love science, because it brings that confluence of science and service and compassionate care all together. And that's why I love being a physician scientist. It's important that as you go through this journey and you're seeking compassion and compassionate care with continuous curiosity, that you meet folks along the way that can help you expand that knowledge. You've already experienced that with your faculty here at CUNY Med. But it's also helpful to have certain mentors and guides along your path. I was blessed that when I was in Harvard Medical School, I had gone to HMS with the plan to become a primary care physician, go back to the predominantly African-American working class neighborhood I grew up in, Philly, and that was going to be my career. That was my path, that was my plan. Until I came up after class one day and engaged my Harvard professor, who was the chairman of physiology at the time, and asked him a simple question. Why is it that African Americans have more hypertension than other groups? Again, simple, curious question of why. Being a good professor, he turned the question around and said he didn't know, even though he was one of the world famous physiologists, president of the American Physiologic Society, or expert on blood pressure. And he challenged me, he dared me to answer my own question and invited me into his laboratory. I said, okay, check it out for a summer. I hadn't been doing research before, didn't know anything about it, but he sort of said, okay, let me just step out on faith a little bit and try this thing. 1 month became 1 year off in med school, became 2 years off in med school. By the time I was gone, I was taking classes with the MD PhD students. I had been bitten by the bug to pursue that continuous curiosity as a scientist. In fact, if you track all those things that Dean Green was saying about my career, I'm still pursuing that same question. But now I'm doing it involving literally thousands of other people and communities, trying to make a difference in reducing the disparities of hypertension in this country and literally around the world, just by asking my professor why. Indeed, that's where I believe you can take becoming a healer and a scholar and then transform that into that third charge that Dean Green gave you, and that's to be a leader. And again, I draw on my family. I mentioned my grandmother. She was the first trailblazer. And I know, again, given this audience, all of you all are trailblazers. You stand on the shoulders of giants. You have City College of New York that I guess has its milestone, 175 years. You have the Sophie Davis program, milestone, 50 years. We have you, probably I guess the first in-person graduates of CUNY Med. All great milestones. We've heard about Dr. Geiger and Dr. Hatch. Dr. Geiger's an icon in community health and social medicine that's national, if not worldwide, in reach and impact. You stand on the shoulders of giants, and that phrase comes from Isaac Newton, one of the greatest scientists of all time, the inventor of conventional physics and calculus. And he said, if I see farther than those before. It's because I stand on the shoulders of those giants. That's the dare to you. Incredible giants from City College in New York. They have more Nobel laureates than I can describe to you today. And the time is now for SUNY men to start to figure out, in this class of 2023, now that you are standing on the shoulders of those giants, what's going to be your legacy? What's your purpose? How are you going to link your purpose and passion in a way that promotes that compassionate care of underserved communities, that advances continuous curiosity and learning, and that transforms the lives of the communities that you came from? That's your third dare. And it all can be inspired by those who came before, even as you leapfrog their accomplishments. From what I've heard today by your classmates, your potential is already forged by the fact that you're here. It's one of that earlier classes of CUNY Med. It was forged by being part of a once-in-a-century pandemic. If anyone can get to the spot that you got, that tells me you got the talent, the grit, the resilience to overcome almost anything. And I think those people in the back know that because they've invested and believed in you. Maybe when you didn't even believe in yourself. That's what those mentors do. That Harvard professor saw something in me that I didn't even know was in me. And that's critical. That's something that I know my family drew upon as well. I can't tell you why my grandmother left rural Georgia to come to Philadelphia. It wasn't an immigration across waters. We had done that in the Middle Passage. But it was part of another migration, one of the biggest in U.S. history, from the deep south to the north. She settled in Philadelphia. I don't know why she chose Philadelphia. I don't even know if she knew what Philadelphia was and what the possibilities were. But she set out on faith, I believe, because she did not want to raise her son, my father, in that same context where she grew up. And she knew that Philadelphia at that time and to this day has some of the best public schools in the country. Certainly and when she moved and when my father went to Central High, it was one of the best high schools in America, public or private. And she knew she could get that education for her son. She already had a vision of advancing us, including me. It really takes that kind of vision. And it's those folks in the back who've envisioned this day. And we ought to be grateful for that vision and how they prepared us for this moment. I also reflect on my mother. My mother was an African-American woman, obviously born in the 20th century. And she came of age as a teenager during the Great Depression, living in Camden, New Jersey. I don't need to tell folks from New York and Philly what Camden's like. I have to acknowledge that, there were times when we would drive from Philly on the way to Atlantic City or one of those other areas, and we'd start to roll up the windows going through Camden, because Camden, that was really a tough city compared to even Philly. So if my mother, during a black girl in Camden in the middle of the Depression, then loses her parents and becomes an orphan, I can't imagine anything that might seem more hopeless and impossible and a challenge that could not be overcome. And yet, I'm here. It's because she, I think, experienced what my grandmother was talking about. about loving God and having faith, loving others, and particularly you're loving your neighbors as yourself, because she was taken in by friends and neighbors. Actually, it was a family that already had 13 children and took her in again in the middle of the Depression. She then became the valedictorian of her class. And she was giving the speech, perhaps not almost as eloquent as the one I just heard. And someone was in the audience and heard her speech and was so impressed that they came up after that convocation and said, "What is her plan?" And she said, "Well, I got accepted to college, but I don't know how I'm going to make it. I had no means of making it as an orphan." And that person committed to supporting her. And she also got her room and board by working in the household of one of her teachers or professors, just to make ends meet. I suspect there may be some students here at SUNY Med who've had to hustle and figure out a way to navigate and make this thing work. That tells me that you're a similar group of overcomers. That's where you build that grit and resilience. That's what you're going to bring to this family. That's what you're going to bring to this profession in a unique and authentic way. And that's what's going to inform your authentic leadership as you get to that third dare of transforming and creating a beloved community that thrives, not survives, not reduces disparities, but that thrives, just in the same way you've thrived at SUNY Med. That's my last dare. And I know you have that in you because you stand on the shoulders of some great giants. Doctors Geiger and Hatch created really a whole biomedical movement in creating community health and social medicine and community health centers all over the country that changed the model of how we care. That's not limited to the clinic walls, but reaches out to communities, that recognizes social context, social determinants of health, and enable that to be part of a larger holistic vision of medicine. That's your legacy that you're building upon. In fact, it came back during this pandemic. Dean Green mentioned that at NIH, the director of NIH, Francis Collins, called me July 4th weekend, I'll never forget it, in 2020. All of you know what was happening to our country. Literally a couple thousand people a day were dying from this once-in-a-century pandemic. And we knew it was disproportionately affecting Black and brown and indigenous populations. And we had to do something at NIH about it. And that's where we created the Community Engaged Alliance Against COVID-19 Disparities, SEAL. And one of the areas we went to, we ran to the most vulnerable. And we started in the Southeast. I'll pull out Mississippi. That's where we had already had the Jackson Heart Study because the greatest disparities are there in Mississippi. If you're going to address disparities, Mississippi's the place to go. And that's what Dr. Geiger and Hatch knew. And indeed, full circle, one of the critical teams we created for the Community Engaged Alliance was in Mississippi. And one of the elements that they leveraged was indeed Delta Health as a collaborative partner, because we knew we needed folks on the front line who already had deep, trustworthy relationships with that community, because that's what they're about. That was their authentic leadership in creating that. And it still exists, and we were able to leverage it as part of the response to the pandemic and the NIH response to the pandemic. And indeed, although there was a lot of hesitancy and challenges in Mississippi, and it wasn't a randomized controlled trial, so I can't claim causality, but if you look at the statistics of vaccination rates in Mississippi amongst blacks and whites, even though you can can see statistically a disparity for every clinical indication, diabetes, hypertension, obesity, infant mortality, always a black-white difference. This was the exception. The vaccination rate amongst blacks in Mississippi was the same as whites. And I think that's reflective of some of these efforts in community health and social medicine. Those community health centers like Delta Health that partnered with us, got the word out, and were seen as trustworthy by the local community, and partnered with faith-based organizations, other organizations, such that the community decided and controlled and co-created what needed to be done to make sure that community was safe and getting the benefits of all of our research. And so that's the kind of leadership we're looking for you to go from healers and scholars to leaders and transform your communities. I'll close with the notion that you have more opportunities than any generation, I believe, that has come before. It is you who've mastered the digital age. It is you that know that, you're carrying around in a pocket a computer that's more powerful than most of our faculty have ever encountered during our training. You now have the capability to monitor heart rate, blood pressure, sleep, various changes in metabolism, glucose monitoring, physical activity, sleep, 24/7, 365. This isn't a 15-minute visit once a year. You're going to get a condition and analysis of all the patients that you have, in addition to their social context. In fact, NIH is creating those systems right now. We are characterizing every molecule in every cell with resolution in every tissue and seeing it in health and disease. There will be more information about the molecular basis of your normal physiology and its perturbation of disease than has ever existed in biomedicine. That's the field you are walking into. And you will be armed by some of the greatest technologies in data science, machine learning and artificial intelligence that, if used appropriately, will be incredible in informing how you care for that patient. In some ways, the more I think about it, I don't know if we can start all over again, Dean Green, but I'm jealous of the opportunities before this class of 2023. So we're looking forward to you doing great things in transforming the lives of those living in the communities that you came from and will go back to. And it's with that I hope you'll remember those dares to, again, commit to compassionate care, particularly for underserved communities, to be continuous in your curiosity and love of learning, and to transform that as leaders in creating a beloved community, a family that is joined together to make sure our communities thrive. With that, congratulations, class of 2023.
Sasha doesn't know this. Sasha. Dr. Gibbons, the CUNY School of Medicine wishes to present you with its Social Mission Award in recognition of your global leadership in the prevention and treatment of heart, lung, sleep, and blood diseases. Your numerous scientific contributions and longstanding commitment to health equity and the care for the nation's most vulnerable citizens on this day of our medical students graduating. Okay. We're going to get ready to start the hooding ceremony and the presentation of our graduates. Hooding ceremony is a special recognition ceremony for doctoral degree candidates. It represents a rite of passage to the next generation, in this case, doctors. Candidates will place their hoods over their left arm and present themselves to their MD faculty, and in some cases, a Sophie Davis alum. That alum who has been asked to hood somebody will find their graduate and walk up with them. They will place the doctoral hood over the head of the graduate to signify that they have successfully completed the graduate program. Dr. Lisa Auerbach and Sandy Santang will call the names of the graduates as they present for hooding. Our MD faculty chief hooders are Dr. Darwin Dean and Dr. Lily Lamb. And there are a host of faculty hooders, including Dr. Selzak, some other people. There are a number of Sophie Davis alums, as I mentioned. Mr. Gerald Irves and Dr. Mendez will come down here to assist me with delivering the right diploma. I think we're all in place. Dean Macbeth, are our candidates ready to be presented for graduation? Okay.
Temiteo Adebenro.
Ayeli Agboglo.
Eugene On.
Joel Ajith.
Sanjita Ambia.
Emmanuel Junior Amoanten. Samantha Aquina Calpo. Gabrielle Avancina. Grace Ayo. He's gone. Whatever. Come on up. Hadley Beaton Mata. There we go, we got it. Stephen Chaco. Shanka Chakravorty. Mohammed Hassam Chipa. Akila Chilakala. David Delva. Jardelis Diaz. Chioma Ezekwem.
Tracy Falordun.
Janelis Fernandez Torres.
Karen Garson.
Rose Gideon.
Hard not to hug Rose. It's hard not to hug Rose. The refill. I'm gonna get out. Alexander German.
Alexander Gordon.
Miladies Guzman.
Sebastian Haitovich.
Raisa Hawk. So we would have helped him too.
Lorraine Harvey.
Janae Hatwood.
Chad Henry.
She should bring her baby up. She should have her baby come up for the picture. Baby. Congratulations. Congratulations to you. Kimberly Hernandez. She should have brought up her baby. There it is. She's a baby. The baby, come on. Bring up the baby. Bring up the baby. Come on, bring him up. Here comes the baby. There you go. They need the baby in the picture. She's the first baby. There you go. He's cute. He's cute. Need the baby. Yeah, there you go. Bring up the baby.
Fatin Ishraq.
Joel James.
Anna Jimenez.
Lauren Johnson.
Eric John.
Caitlin Kennedy.
Abdullah Khalid.
It's Abdullah.
Congratulations.
Nice big head. Charlene Cote.
Isn't it there? Isn't it? President and Beverly. Samantha Lau.
Jacqueline Wang Liu.
Sunaina Mahendrakar.
Justin Merville.
Ralph Anthony Montalvo.
Obioma Nkem Akolam.
Ipechukwu Obaye.
Oh my God. It's a party. All these ladies combined.
It's a party.
Pandemic. It's me, right?
All right.
Okay, they gotta stop whistling.
I love it.
Joshua Ogogo. They like him too.
Jillian Perez.
Camara Perkins.
I didn't hug. I'll hug you later, Camera. Katiana Philippe.
Erica San Antonio.
Dawa Sangmo.
Tyler Sarkis.
Oh, it's a big head too. It was a big head too.
Fatma Shalan.
Kaylee Singh.
Shubi Singh.
Jeremiah Thiagaraj. Found Joanne for you. Found her. She's got S19 together.
Joanne Boyard.
This is the tough one. Remember to appreciate us. For the non-huggers we are.
You put them the wrong way. We're not allowed. We're gonna get in trouble.
You're not allowed.
We're not allowed. We're not allowed.
We're not This is it. This is the last one.
This is me. Rachel Wong. See, I knew it. We did it.
Tatiana Zulagua Gallego. Congratulations, class of 2023.
Okay. All of our graduates are seated. By the power invested in me by the State of New York, Department of Education, the CUNY Board of Trustees, and your family, and your faculty, I confer the degree of medical doctor to the CUNY School of Medicine, MD, class of 2023. Okay. I think a party came out in here. Next speaker, I'd like for you actually just to take one extra moment. And graduates, stand up and celebrate your families. The ancestors are truly smiling today. Okay. So, as we transition from being student doctors to being doctors, there's also another transition that occurs, and that is to becoming City University of New York School of Medicine and Sophie Davis Biomedical Education Program for your BS alumni. And so next we have Dr. Marina Freemer from the President of the Alumni Association to give you greetings. Dr. Freemer.
Good afternoon, fellow graduates, faculty, family, and friends. Congratulations. As current president of the Sophie Davis CUNY Med Alumni Association, I am honored to welcome you to the ranks of over 2,500 other graduates who commit their ideas, their resources, and their talents to support and develop meaningful relationships with fellow alumni and current students. Today, you are called a doctor, a healer, and a physician. You have persevered in the face of uncertainty and hardships and leaned on each other for friendship and advice. You have developed compassion and empathy, two of the most important traits of becoming a physician. Today, you have earned the privilege of taking care of patients and their families. Tomorrow, you will become the center of a patient's care, their universe, their family, and the basis of all of their decision-making. Based on your experiences these past several years, you are well prepared to take on any challenge. As the Alumni Association, we encourage you to take advantage of working together to offer mentorship opportunities to current students and attend social events with other alumni, students, and faculty. We challenge you to stay involved, to build a vibrant network of CUNY Med graduates, and continue to inspire engagement in the life of your medical school. The advice and support you can now provide to your fellow CUNY Med students will pave their road to future success. As alumni, your ability to contribute to others' success in your medical school is now unmeasurable. I encourage you all to stay involved, reach out to us, and stay in touch. Best of luck, and we hope to see you again soon. Congratulations.
She's an extraordinary president and actually a very generous philanthropist as well. And so we thank you. Next, you don't really become doctors until you really take an oath. So I'm going to ask Dr. Ed Telzak, our Chair of Clinical Medicine, to be joined by Dr. Darwin Dean to administer the oath, the Hippocratic oath to all of the physicians. We will ask the other physicians to stand up and repeat the oath that is actually in your brochure.
So actually, before I recite the oath with you, I just wanted to pick up on a theme that Dr. Gibbons had emphasized, which is that a convocation has elements of the religious, spiritual, and the academic. And I think it reaches its zenith in that sense when you take an oath. And just to emphasize that a little more forcefully, and perhaps I'm stretching this a bit, but there are 10 elements to the oath that you're about to recite. And I might interpret the oath as really being the 10 commandments of being a physician. So thank you, Dean, for this honor. And the Hippocratic Oath dates back to antiquity. It is taken by physicians. It guides their ethics, their behavior, and all graduates take the oath. And so I ask you to repeat after me. And all other physicians, as the Dean mentioned, can stand and renew their oath. I swear to fulfill to the best of my ability and judgment the covenant as follows. I will respect the hard-won scientific gains of those practitioners in whose steps I walk, and gladly share such knowledge as is mine and those who are to follow. If you can repeat that, please. I will apply for the benefit of the sick all measures which are required. I will remember that there is art to medicine as well as science. I will not be ashamed to say, I know not. I will respect the privacy of my patients, for their problems are not discussed to me that the world may know. I will not permit considerations of gender, race, religion, political affiliation, sexual orientation, nationality, or social standing to influence my duty of care. I will remember that I do not treat a fever chart, a cancerous growth, but a sick human being whose illness may affect their entire family. I will prevent disease whenever I can, for prevention is preferable to care. I will remember that I remain a member of society with special obligations to all my fellow human beings, those sound of mind and body, as well as the infirm. If I follow this oath, may I enjoy life in art, respected while I live and remembered with affection hereafter. May I always act so as to preserve the finest traditions of my calling, and may I long experience the joy of healing those who seek my help. Congratulations, MD class of 2023.
Thank you, Dr. Dean and Dr. Telzak. As we move towards closure, we must thank the Commencement Planning Committee who start working on this in January. That includes our communications team, our development team, our many alumni, and our student affairs team. This was really, truly a team effort. I also would like to thank the CUNY police and peace officers who continue to keep us safe day in and day out. We'd also like to thank our facilities people who actually work really hard to make this place a beautiful space to learn. New doctors, please thank our tremendous faculty and staff. Good people, we have also a ceremonial closing. And to conclude this sort of glorious day, as we begin the recessional out, I would ask the family to please stay in your seats until the platform committee party, as well as the faculty, students, and alumni have exited, and they re-enter the hallway. The students will immediately return under the keen tutelage of Master Teacher Dr. Dean Macbeth, and you just follow him like the little ducklings that you've been for so long. And we'll come back here for pictures. I'm going to also ask that you take a moment after all the pictures are done to meet some of us in the quad for the Dean's Ice Cream Social, and to congratulate all. We cannot end this ceremony without acknowledging and honoring with respect the Lenape people, the indigenous people on whose ancestral land the City University of New York School of Medicine stands. We acknowledge and honor the Black, indigenous people of color, enslaved and free, who've labored to make this place what we call home. We affirm the aspirations of the great Lenape chief Tamenund, that there be harmony between the indigenous peoples of this land and the descendants of the immigrants to this land, as long as the rivers and creeks flow and the sun, moon, and stars shine. Good people, good people. The 2023 convocation has come to an end. And so, how How are we going home?
You must take the A train to go to Sugar Hill way up in Harlem. If you miss the A train, you live in place in Harlem. Hurry, get on board, it's coming. Listen to those rails a-thrumming. On board, get on the A train. Soon you will be on Sugar Hill in Harlem. train. You'll go to Sugar way up in Harlem. When you take the A train, you'll find it's the quickest way to Harlem. Hurry, get on board, it's coming. Oh, it's coming, hurry. Hear those rails are thrumming. Oh, get on the A train. You'll find it's the quickest way to Harlem.